What's up, everyone? It's Sunday. It's Star Wars Celebration, which is day 3. This is a day 2 video. We recorded stuff about day 2 last night and then wound up going to karaoke and stayed out way too late, and I didn't get it edited. So excuse the sudden costume change while we talk about yesterday. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Bit Reactor panel, where we got some initial details about Zero Company, the strategy game that's coming out. Right off the bat, they opened with a trailer, so that was fun.
That was really cool.
I liked the trailer a lot. So the whole panel was more about setting and the story in a sense. We didn't get like any hard story details as far as what the major threat is, but just kind of setting the stage.
I mean, we know the Clone Wars era pretty well by now.
Yeah.
We know what the threat is, essentially.
Well, they hinted at something else that we don't know about.
Yeah, but they did focus mostly on story elements, which makes sense for more of like a Star Wars convention. Maybe down the line at more like gaming conventions, we'll see more of the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
And mechanics.
The trailer did have a little bit of gameplay in it. Kind of, you could see the wheel, the selection wheel.
The UI.
Yeah, you saw the squad moving as a group and kind of how they could interact with one another. But the panel itself and the trailer, I would say, was more about like, these are the characters, this is the setting, it is in the Clone Wars.
The squad that you're going to be working with, which I did really like the makeup of the squad.
Yeah. I love the Umbaran character, like just right away. And they got into that, I think Luco was his name.
Yeah, they said like he still has never forgiven the Separatists.
The Republic.
Or the Republic for invading his homeland. And so that shot of him in the trailer where like the gas is filling up in his mask
and he's staring at the clone.
Yeah, it's so cool. So that there's him. He looks like more of like the sharpshooter character. Then there's a clone character.
He's probably like just a good all around fighter. There's
maybe more like tactics.
Yeah, there's a Padawan. There's an astromech. There's a Mandalorian. And then Hawks. I think Hawks is who they said was the main player character, who I think he is the guy who gives orders to all of these people. Yeah. So that's you like overhead saying, okay, sharpshooter, you go here. Mandalorian, you fly over here. That's I think Hawks is doing all of that.
Yeah. The Tognath Padawan character looked really cool. I forget what her name was.
Tell, I think. Tell or Tells.
But she has 2 lightsabers.
Yeah.
And a cool little like Padawan bead string like coming off of one of her...
Kind of like Ahsoka has, yeah.
Yeah. So we've never seen a Tognath Jedi before, so I'm excited for that.
But I should point out that they said this is kind of the default. This is the characters that the game has created, but you don't have to use them. You can fully customize your squad, make any character you want. They even said, like, you can go full D-squad.
Oh, right, like all droids.
Oops, all droids. Like, you can. They were like, we don't recommend it.
Yeah.
But you can do it. You can play in this sandbox however you want.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I love that. Because, yeah, I am sure my first playthrough, I will just do the canon story, the canon version of events with all of their characters. But I think it would be fun to go back through once I have my sea legs and I know how the game works. Doing a D-Squad run would be a lot of fun.
Now that I think about it, we were speaking to one of the guys afterwards and he mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. That makes sense now because of how customizable the characters are in Baldur's Gate 3. If it's anything like that, like you will spend a whole day trying to figure out your squad and your characters because I mean there's so many alien species. I wonder just how many you have to choose from for the characters.
They showed Hawk's customization and it was human man, human woman, but then it was also like a Shagrian or a Twi'lek, or just, it seems like you can make any kind of character you want. Yeah, I wonder how deep they go with the aliens to choose from. But yeah, we did speak to Aaron Contreras, who was the narrative lead on the Star Wars Jedi games and is also narrative lead on this game. And I mentioned that I've never played any like squad strategy game before. I've done real-time strategy, but I was like, I need to play XCOM to kind of figure this out. And he was like, yeah, give XCOM a try, Fire Emblem 3, and he mentioned Baldur's Gate 3 as some options, which I have dabbled in Baldur's Gate. So I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a little better.
I made a character and then played the game for like 10 minutes and then gave up.
You just enjoy character creation. So
Yeah.
you know what? Like one time I'll just let you make my whole squad.
Okay, good.
You can do a stream where you build the squad and then I will play with the squad and
Yeah.
hopefully not get them all killed.
That might take multiple streams
Yeah.
for me to pick my whole squad, like one stream per character.
And I mentioned getting them killed or not. These characters can die. Like, this is
yeah.
not a game like the Star Wars Jedi games that have one defined ending. You can lose your characters, even if they are the game-created ones. They're all going to start, like, not vibing with each other. They're all
yeah.
enemies, but you can spend time getting them to like each other more, which will unlock new interactions, I guess, on the combat field, which sounds pretty awesome. Like they mentioned using the Tognath Jedi to use the Force to push a character out of cover, so then the sniper has a better shot. Stuff like that will be unlocked, but they can die on missions, and maybe if you have like a really tight-knit squad by the end, they'll have a higher success rate or chance of survival.
I wonder if, because they did mention different difficulty levels, and like, I want to say he mentioned that the characters will permanently die on certain difficulty levels, so maybe like a story mode, you aren't going to be permanently losing any of your squad. Because I'm over here thinking like, what's the easiest level that I can try to play this on?
Yeah, they did say that they wanted this to be accessible to all Star Wars fans, even ones who haven't played a game like this before. So I think the standard difficulty is like, yeah, your characters can die, but you can put it on story mode, and if they die, you could probably just like redo that mission real quick or something, or it'll be a lot harder to let them die.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are going to be multiple difficulty and accessibility options.
They mentioned some of the planets.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The base is going to be set on the Ring of Kafrene, which people will recognize from Rogue One. They designed a brand new starship for the crew to use. I forget what that
The
name
Kaysen,
was.
I think.
Kaysen, and then there's a droid who is the pilot of the ship.
Mevo, M3VO. But yeah, I wanted to go back to the planets because they mentioned some fun deep cuts. There's Anaxes, which was from Season 7 of the Clone Wars and Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. Sarah Lonis is in the Bad Batch. I think it was originally meant for the Clone Wars as well, the Boba Fett Cad Bane arc that never got finished. Mapuzo from Obi-Wan Kenobi and from like old Legends comics. So yeah, sounds like they're pulling in a bunch of deep cut locations, and they said that the map itself is just, they only showed a sliver of the map, or like a few of the options as far as planets go, but they were like, there are a lot of planets.
Yeah. I liked that they mentioned kind of like why they chose the Clone Wars era for this game, because they were talking about the Age of Rebellion and how, like, in a lot of the other eras of Star Wars, the conflict is asymmetrical, I think is how they put it. So we're like a huge empire and a little rebellion. But the Clone Wars is on a little bit more of a even playing field between the Republic and the Separatists.
Two large armies fighting each other.
Yeah, and so they were like, that gives us a lot more fun and kind of like room to explore with a crew like this.
Yeah. They said that Hawks was a former Republic, a disgraced Republic officer.
We love a disgraced
Love it.
former military person.
And Trick the clone was injured in like the same battle that caused his disgrace. But yeah, they're now this kind of black ops group that is fighting a shadow war, which is a great way to get around the whole, Star Wars fans are like, but why haven't we ever heard of Zero Company before? This is why. They've been in the shadows.
Honestly, I don't know if you noticed this. One of my favorite things about this panel, there were two kids sitting in front of us.
Yes.
One of them was a lot younger, and he looked really bored. The older kid, every time they mentioned the Clone Wars or showed any of the clones, the kid was like doing this and pointing at the screen and like getting visibly excited. So fans of the Clone Wars, I think, will love this.
It was a lot of fun sitting right behind some kids at a panel like that. Because I just remember when they were like, the trailer says, everyone thinks they know everything about the Clone Wars, and he was just like,
yeah, he perked up.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was really cute. Hey, so it's Sunday now. I initially recorded our reactions to the Bit Reactor panel on Saturday. Well, this morning at 8 a.m. after like 3 hours of sleep, which is why Molly is just lying on the bed disassociating, I got the chance to go and talk to some of the team behind Zero Company with a couple of other creators like Bombastic and Sammy Boy, and got a few more details. We just got to ask some questions, and I wanted to throw out a few of those that I could remember off the top of my head. We talked more about the planets that are involved, got clarification that while there are, yes, many familiar planets and deep-cut planets, there are also several new planets that the game is going to introduce. I also specifically asked if the story would be linear, and it is not. They didn't go into detail about what that meant, but it's not going to railroad you from like, okay, we go from Tatooine to Yavin to here, whatever. It sounds like you're going to get to have some choice in what planets you go to, where you fight, etc. So that's exciting. They couldn't answer a ton of our questions. Like Bombastic asked if the game would have a single ending, and they did not say yes or no, which I think that it can't have a single ending because we know that there can be character death along the way. And then that did raise some questions about canon and everything, and like, will there be a concrete canon version? And they couldn't really super answer that because they didn't want to get into spoilers, but they were very adamant that yes, Zero Company is canon. It's just that some of the individual events and how things go are going to be up to the player. So I think in a broad view, you can say that during the Clone Wars, there was a group called Zero Company, and they worked and fought against this specific threat. And maybe just the galaxy at large doesn't know exactly how things went down and who lived and who died. I think that that will be kind of nebulous in the larger canon. It kind of makes me think of like playing Battlefront and, some of the battles in there, like the Battle of Endor or Hoth. And yeah, those events happened, but did they happen the way that you specifically played them? No. That's kind of how I would view that. Similar to the panel itself, a lot of what we talked about was very story-centric, which is fine by me because no matter the video game, story is what I'm most interested in. Gameplay tends to come second for me. But yeah, they wanted to focus on story, and they just talked about how important it was to make this feel like a Star Wars story where it's a tactical game, but they were really excited about the cinematic feel of it all and the way the camera works and how it kind of zooms around the battlefield. So I'm really interested to see more of that. We only got a taste of it in the game trailer itself. They also did confirm they really wanted to talk about the fact that there will be no microtransactions or anything like that. I know that that's always a concern for gamers, but they were very much like, there will be no microtransactions. So I think that's good that they're already saying that. But I think that's all I can really remember off the top of my head. Alexander Freed, who wrote Alphabet Squadron and Battlefront Twilight Company, he tweeted this morning that he worked on the game in very early days, basically before the narrative lead, Aaron Contreras, came on, they wanted Alexander Freed to kind of consult a little bit because of his background in military sci-fi, and specifically in Star Wars, and he has built these squads, these stories about squads, both in Twilight Company and in Alphabet Squadron. So he seemed like a very natural fit, and I love his writing, so I'm glad that he had some influence on there in the early days. But that, I think, is about everything we talked about. So I'm going to wrap up this video that took 2 days to work on at Star Wars Celebration. But thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials. Please consider checking out our Patreon page, and I'll also put a video, a playlist up on the end card here so you can see our other Star Wars Celebration coverage. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.